So another totally stormy day out there. It is. When I woke up this morning, it was so freaking windy. You can hear it in the trees. So windy. It sounds so scary. Especially because when I was really little, I was growing up in Kansas, and the whole thing with tornadoes like traumatized me. So I'm always like totally freaked out by the wind. But oh my God. And then plus you can see it in the trees blowing so hard. Once it got light, I don't know if you can call this light. It's 10 o'clock. It's still dark as can be. And it'll be dark and it will just stay dark all day. They won't even send the illumination disc over this way. It'll just stay dark. They're just hitting us with storm after storm over here. It's ridiculous. I guess there's no school today even because of the flooding. Like, I can't even believe my yard is a giant swamp. So, anyways, it's just, the days go on and on and on. And it is just, I was just telling one of my friends this morning, the one in Australia, that it is, like, for those of us who are paying attention, who are awake, who, are seeing things from this other perspective, this is like, it feels so abusive. I don't know. Like, it's a lot to wrap your head around to try and get yourself in that mindset to detach from the stuff going on. Like, she had another person in her family that, a healthy person, suddenly stroked out. So, and she had that other friend of her mom's, like, last week, super young person, suddenly a heart attack. And they spread it out, so people won't relate it to this thing. But, like I've said, it's all of the poisons, it's all of the toxins put together. So this was just to lower your immune. It was like to start a domino effect in your system. So that's why, God, Trixie is wild. That's why it's so versatile, how it affects different people. But this whole thing is just so exhausting. Oh my God, it's exhausting. I was like, I don't understand, because I'm around so many people who aren't even a little bit closer to being well. I mean, I don't even understand it at all. It's just, this whole thing is just mind-blowing. But you know what, I think it's super important, it's super significant, because I really am paying so much attention to this shift. And I think it makes so much sense about how that girl was talking about the 3D to 5D shift, because, like, I get that whole thing and stuff, but it's the philosophy, it's the way we interact, it's the way we look at, life and our role, our purpose, and everything is so different. In that other one, it's such a narrow path. You have to stay on the path, or be bullied back in. It is so much about a herd mentality, and it's about, fitting in with other people. It's the whole thing with the cancel culture and the woke group, they're going to give us the rules to live by. They don't even realize that the rules are coming down from the rulers, and they are just part of the freaking system. So, I don't know. It is just, it's such a different way of looking at life. And when I look at it from the perspective of it as consciousness, and realizing what's going on here about the ascension, about why all this transition is happening, and what is clearing, and what we're moving towards and stuff, it's like when you start putting all that stuff together, it just creates such a big picture on all the different things, the planet and spirituality and consciousness and energy and life after life and soul journey and all of that stuff. You find all of that in all these different areas. Like, one thing is, for instance, how I figured out about melanin, what the deal is with that. Like, I wasn't quite sure. Like, they were showing me stuff in my head, and I wasn't really sure. I mean, I talked about it for a while, but I wasn't really sure, like, you know, it's like a translation. So I wasn't really sure what they were saying, but I was sure that they were saying that melanin was super important, and they are purposely trying to water it down out of the human beings. So that is their whole thing. It's not so much like they don't like people of color. It is that they don't like the color in people, because the color carries something about our soul. But the thing that where it got me, where I started waking up to that thing about the melanin, was it came from a really weird place. Is when you start looking into the rituals, what they do to stay young, the vampire way that they live, all of that stuff. That's what they want. They want that blood. That's why, you know, they have all of those places in communities where there's minorities, and they try and convince those girls, like, they don't give them proper birth control. They want them to get knocked up, you know. They want that. They want them to go in and get these procedures and give over, you know, oh yeah, take it, because they sell it. Oh, it's so disgusting. There's no telling how advanced that they are too, because it's so funny when you start having awareness and you start seeing how much of it is right in our face in movies and shows that they show us. And I was watching what was that? It's a movie. Oh, it was American Horror Story. My friend told me, because I don't like to watch, there's a lot of stuff I don't like to watch. It's super hard to watch anything anymore. But she said you'd find the last 4 episodes interesting, because there's a lot of stuff about aliens and disclosure, and that's what I'm all about. So I went in and watched it, and it was showing about the hybrids, and it was showing about even having men be pregnant, and you know, because they're just, all they need is like I don't even know what to call it, like an incubator kind of, doesn't, for these hybrid kids or something. But this hybrid thing has been going on for a long time. And even I was thinking about this movie that scared the shit out of my brother a long time ago. It was called It's Alive, and it was a scary movie. I didn't see it with my the younger, I was the oldest, so all the other 3 of them watched it. But my youngest brother was really little, and it traumatized him. He was scared to death. He was so scared. He started screaming in the movie and running. He was so scared he didn't want to go sleep at night over this last scene or whatever, some scene in this movie where the woman gives birth and the baby comes out and starts eating the doctors, eating the people, and all that stuff. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that movie all that time ago was definitely disclosing the hybrid program, because I'm sure that happened. I've seen that scene in so many movies recently of these hybrid babies, even in that American Horror Story, these hybrid babies coming out and attacking the people in the room. They keep showing us this over and over. So all of that stuff has been going on. And even when they take the little dead babies and stuff like that, they take cells and they clone that stuff, and then they, like, if you, I think there's places that you would go, and I bet you Under the White House was a big one, because they showed that also in American Horror Story. What is, you would go in there and it'd be like a science lab. It'd be like the creepiest place you could even imagine. I am sure that there is all sorts of like parts that are on machines that are different parts put together. Oh my god, but it's like fucking Frankenstein lab. It's just, it's so creepy. Like, it's so creepy. Like, they should have maybe sold us on that reality, because the reality that they sold us on, and then for that to be the real reality, is just, it's probably so that we couldn't wrap our head around it. Like, it would be so far-fetched. How could we even consider that? Because that's what we got going on. People that can't even consider some of this stuff. It's like, no way. Like, on the flat earth stuff, I can't believe how many people are like, yeah, but no way. How could they do that? How could NASA and the government all come up with this big lie? Why would they even do that? Like, oh man, if you're still there, you got ways to go. Oof. You're start looking into some shit if you're that far back. Everything is connected. And like I've said so many times, it's like all the rabbit holes are the tentacles of the beast. Like every one is going to lead to a tentacle of this beast, the cabal, that is all interwoven in our life, that completely manipulated our life to control it. So, yeah, people who think that in the whole thing about, Alice in Wonderland, and it's the release of our consciousness to go in and explore all these other realms. And once you can really wrap your head around all of these different realms around us and the whole lie about what this planet is and what this solar system is and everything, to me lately, and this has been going on for a while, but I've really noticed that more and more and more and more, is this hard to grasp onto this reality, to stay present in this reality. And I started making these socks. Like last year before Christmas, I was making everybody hats because I thought, well, that'd be cool, is to make them all kind of a generic kind of hat so that they would always have this hat. Like, oh, my mom made me this hat a long time ago, or my grandkids, like, oh, my grandma made me this hat a long time ago. But they'd always have this warm wool hat, and that their grandma made them. So I thought, oh, that'd be cool. This year I'm doing socks, so I'm trying to learn a whole new pattern and stuff. And I just learned to crochet during this quarantine situation, so each thing I do is like a new thing to learn. And then plus having a brain injury, you have to relearn stuff every freaking time, like completely relearn stuff. Like it goes away. It's like your brain is like Swiss cheese, and you just have like little, it's like my brain is like reality. It's just like these little, like the Swiss cheese, all these different realities happening, and all these different, like the little island part, like the holes, but then the little part in between the holes are different realities, and everything is moving in all these different ways. I can see it so much in my brain. I feel like everybody could see it the same, but then that's the part where it's like, but we're all seeing things differently. We don't all understand things on the same, like the same kind of platform. Like some of us, if we're all looking at the same thing, we're all at different levels looking at the same thing. So some of the things are concepts or whatever, or just sound really nutty. And it's funny, the more and more TikTok people I see that are like, this is going to sound really crazy. If you don't get this, and just keep on moving. Like, people are starting to really acknowledge this crazy side of the world, that people consider you to be crazy when you focus on it. Focusing on your soul is focusing on what they don't want you to focus on. So you sound completely crazy because you're focusing on something that they tell you is, I don't even know, because it was so much about religion. And like when I was growing up, the way that they changed things and stuff, because when I was growing up, it was so much about trying to be perfect. Like you were supposed to be perfect. And that was where it kind of like there was a rebellion. And that's why it was kind of going David Bowie and these people who were like different, but they were accepted. So then you could feel kind of like, well, I don't have to be perfect. I could still be, me, but the parameters were so defined. And then as it has progressed, it is just like they opened it up, like the funnel is all about perversion and ego driven, and this just shallow way to live. And all these people who just want to manifest money, that's all they think about. Like, oh, I'm going to manifest money. Why the fuck aren't they manifesting security and happiness and a safe place to live and those kinds of things? Like, it's the same thing with these people with like, oh, magic, you can do stuff with energy, you can do spells and stuff. It's like all these people are they're just messing with things that like children or something. But that's the other thing too with this thing about consciousness and this period of time that we're in, when I step back and observe, it is so much about like an infancy for consciousness, because it is about like, like if an infant is laying in bed and his diaper's wet, what's he gonna do? Just scream? Doesn't know what else to do. If pretty much everything, a baby's way of communicating is screaming. I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Somebody make me comfortable. I'm going through it right now with Stella. She's in that infancy stage of, I'm miserable and just keep crying at me and crying at me and crying at me. And it's like, bitch, I've got aches and pains too. This is part of life. I know it's not fair for a big old girl like, she knows I'm talking about her. Big old girl like you. But that is what I'm noticing, and it's so much with the ego-driven thing of it's all about me. It's about my comfort. It's about what I need, my needs, and that's what an infant is like. An infant's not thinking about, oh, Mom didn't get any sleep last night. Maybe I'll give her a break today. Because an infant is only focused on its own needs. Just like this state of consciousness that is in this transitional position of moving towards ascension, having to realize itself. Like, they're being pushed into having to realize themselves. They're being pushed into having to acknowledge themselves. And so many people are fighting back. Like I said, they're just completely oblivious to the stuff that is happening. And it's so much about the distraction and keeping their mind focused on this illusion to keep them trapped in this helpless, fear-controlled, ego-driven, like pervy, like I'm disgusting, rotten, and I like children and sacrifices and all those weird shit. So I'm going to show you this stuff and then, get you to participate, get you to like it. They do fucking spells on shows. They get us to participate. They got all these fucking stupid shit on the award shows and stuff. These big, giant ceremonies like that. What's that football thing? That yearly football thing that they do, where the two teams that won the whole way, and the Super Bowl. When they go into that, they do that mid-show thing, whatever it is. It's always some kind of a big ritual, some kind of it's a ritual where they get everybody to participate, and all their excited energy is part of the energy, just like what happened at that concert. That concert showed exactly. Ooh, and I saw something really creepy. Somebody sharing footage of the ground after, the more people were cleared out. There's hundreds and hundreds of shoes, some from both shoes, just sitting there perfectly next to each other. Like, to me, looking at it, it reminded me of like The Leftovers or something, that show where all of a sudden half the people just disappeared, like The Rapture or whatever. They're just gone. That's what it looked like. Like all this stuff just sitting there. It was like, it was really creepy. And who knows? Fuck. If people were disappearing and not coming home from the concert, they wouldn't let that information. The parents could be trying to get the media to talk about it. We know they won't. They've got their own agenda. It's not about us. It's about controlling us, but it's not about, participating with us, giving us the news, getting us to be able to share information. No, it's not about that. It's about them being able to give us the story that the corporation wants put out there so that we are distracted and doing what we're told and all the bullshit. God, I know I'm a fucking broken record. But it just keeps going and going and going and going. Oh my God, how much longer? Because, these people are not waking up, and the rest of us are just getting real fucking sick of it. So, something big is about to happen. I don't know what it is, and I know I've said that a lot of times for a lot of months. But time is what they capture our minds with. Like, we can know it's coming. but trying to know the date and time is impossible. And what I was going to say also about the socks and the grounding is what I've noticed is like I feel kind of like I'm barely in this world. I'm barely like, I feel like everything is a dream. But doing things like the socks or whatever, it kind of grounds me into this reality. And I have noticed so much about how important it is to stay present. And I do believe that those present moments are moments of being alive. Like, how do we even know? Is wherever we're focused, wherever our conscious is focused on, that is that life in existence in the spotlight. So when we are experiencing that and we're present, or we're focused in that moment on that experience, but it's the same things, like we have all these other lives, all these other realities around us that are existing simultaneously. And if we took our consciousness and focused on that one, this is how, we're going to start being able to time travel and all of that stuff. But we take our consciousness and we focus on another timeline, another space and time, then we can put our energy there, focus there. So are we really even here? So when I'm feeling that whole feeling of like, I don't even feel like I'm really here. I feel like it's a dream and I'm trying to hold on to it. Like I keep waking up and being like, go back into the dream, go back into the dream. But yeah, doing those things like focusing on something like creative that is holding you, or holding your focus and putting you in that present moment, it does, I think, help stay grounded, help you stay focused, to stay present in this reality. Because yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is still all like playing out how this is gonna go, and I feel like once it's complete, once we see what happens and stuff, I feel like I've got so much more stuff to talk about. It just is just stuff you can't talk about until you see it. Like I can see things in my own life, things that I know, and then they play out, and I know that my inner knowing is right. But there's bigger things that I will talk about, but once they show, because otherwise, like I've said this before, there's things that I talk about, I just sound like a crazy person. So we need the evidence. The evidence has to be there. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about some of that stuff, but that's also the thing that's exciting for us to like get to the next phase. It's like we're stuck in this one phase for so long. I know it's not just stuck, because I know stuff is happening. I know people are waking up. I know people's lives are transforming. I know that our systems are changing and falling apart and self-destructing. And it feels like a slow process, because like I know all of these things are happening and you want it to just crash and burn. But then, you go in these conversations on like TikTok and stuff in the comments, and you see like people are not at all prepared. They're not at all expecting it. Even people who are awake to some of the other control, there's so many things that they're just focused on that one thing, and they're not going to see so much other information that's coming. Like there's so much that's going to be coming out, and it all has to do with our true history and aliens and what we're doing here, and that we're an experiment, and what this reality really is and stuff. And all of that stuff is going to crash and burn, and everybody's thinking like that is what it's all about. But really, that is just a symptom, or wouldn't be a symptom. It'd be like, because we see through the illusion that those things all have to go away, and it's the energy that it carries. It's too heavy. We're moving into a higher phase of energy, so it has to collapse. But a lot of people think that is the whole thing. That is what we're waiting on, is just that, but it isn't. There's so much stuff for people to face. Like the whole thing about this is going to be about facing, why did they do it? Like, were they listening to their internal? Were they doing their own research? What would make them go and do something like that? Like, there's so many different things that people are going to learn from those things like that. So, and loss, like, but that's what it's about. That's what it's about, is that growing is the loss so that you grow, because it's about the ascension. This is about consciousness awakening, the great awakening. Maga has to do with magnetism. Magnetism has to do with the planetary system. Like all of this stuff, all of these keywords that were dropped around to us and stuff, all has to do with this. And, disclosure is the most important thing. It has to do with technology. It has to do with our true history. In this whole thing where they've got people believing like aliens are monsters, and it's all about just multi-dimensional beings all existing. And it's time for us to realize, come out of this this time capsule that we've been trapped in, and walk into the future, and participate with all these other beings and learn from them. I think that we're ready to start learning. The more you move out of that 3D kind of idea of everything's there for me, make me happy, like me, blah, 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 you move into this other state of being, of, putting yourself out there, and knowing what your energy has to do with, and the acceptance of others, and being opening your mind to all that there is to learn. There's people, I think, that would be stuck on, could you sit and look at somebody? When I did my, I think it was my first QHHT, that's the past life regression thing, but it has to do with going in and talking to your higher self. In the first one, I went in and did, I think I did two. There was a place I went to, and there was a table, like, like when you go to like a board meeting, and you got the, not the board meeting, those community meetings, where you've got the community leaders sitting up there, like 5 people, and the rest of us go up and talk, and they sit up there and they talk to each other and say the rules and all that stuff. So I was at one of those, but the people who were all there didn't look anything like humans. The one who was at the head of the table looked more like a bird, like a vulture or something. So I think that there's a lot of people who will have a hard time wrapping their head around, like, animals having the same, and what they consider to be animals, or what they consider to be large animals or something. They not to get themselves in that kind of way of thinking of, like, that's just a different experience that they're going in, and in their environment, being a bird works well. Like, maybe their reality planet is a lot of water with tall trees, and they live in the trees. Like, I don't know, but your avatar, it's about your environment. That's why they're all different, like aquatic, and you are a part of the adaptation of your reality, your planet, or whatever you want to consider it to be. So there's a lot of people that are going to have a hard time, going and wrapping their head around that something that they think of as an animal or an insect in giant form is the same consciousness as they are, because they've been so trained in movies and programmed to think that they're monsters and they're scary, and you have to look a certain way to have value, and a lot of people have a lot to learn. So, but we're heading to exciting times. We're going into it slow as fuck, but we'll get there. And all I know is that the whole journey, slow as it may be, just to use it as an opportunity to just work on yourself, and think about the things that you're going through, and what you can do to increase your knowledge, to increase your acceptance, to increase your healing, your forgiveness, all of those things. And just keep rambling. So anyways, have a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.